Lion, this is a game very close to my heart. The RTS combo genre is something that I've seen attempted a couple times, but nothing like this. One of my earliest gaming moments was playing a now canceled EA RTS FPS hybrid, and I always thought to myself, like, I hope people keep trying this, and this looks amazing. We were commenting during the trailer, like, I hope this guy's okay if he's really a solo dev. Like, this is a lot of
Right.
art, this is a lot of animation, this is a lot of work for one person. Yeah, I think it looks pretty incredible. I'm trying to sort out my positive comments. I mean, I think like Pikmin is on the mind, but also these are like some serious platinum games, Bayonetta type action dashy moves that look great. Um, when you popped open that ability wheel, I was like, there's no way he's coded that many separate abilities for all these different kids. I was like, whoa. So yeah, I mean, my only note on that is like, I think the complexity is a little bit high. But you know, I see gamers playing games like this. Like, I don't think, the people who are into Twitch-based, like action-based games are going to be too confused, especially if you played like Pikmin or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm super into it.
For sure, right on. Yeah, I think definitely, yeah, on from my perspective too, I think again, like I think echoing just like the amount of work, like kudos to you, and for like I guess even getting this far just as like doing solo stuff, like it's very very impressive, to say the least. I think definitely part of the scope thing is something that is, I think just just as all like with other games, like whoa, that's a lot of work, especially for one person. So I think just as you're like as I was reading, I think there's like 20 different children that are sort of like each with their own like unique abilities and like skills that will like have these sort of like nested systems. I think that I saw a lot of it's just like the core loop is made of these like sort of nested loops and it sort of keeps going like almost like a recursion. And so I think I think at some point like or trying to really see what the most like simple version of that is, or like trying to trim that down a bit could be an interesting just exploration. Like if you think that like the story that you're trying to tell or the mechanics that you're creating really require the 20 children and all these abilities, then I think that's fair. Like I think if that's really the game that you're trying to go for, I think that's totally valid. But I'm curious what different like explorations from there could look like, to see what like sort of maybe a more slimmed down version could be. And maybe I think we talked about this in the earlier project, just sort of thinking about accessibility in mind too, or how that would work. Because I think definitely for people who are familiar with like Twitch-based games or just like quick style games, like a lot of platinum games, you probably wouldn't be too phased by a lot of this, like UI and the things changing on screen very rapidly. But I think just I know especially hard as someone who's working as a solo dev, but just at least keeping in mind different things around how you can make the game more accessible, and how that might work, I think is also another thing to throw out there for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our advice is going to be scope related. I think that was
Right.
my biggest challenge as a new dev. My advice here is scope related, but for a different reason. I mean, you've shown in this trailer like you're a workhorse, like you can handle a
Right.
large scope already. I think that you're going to have to edit down the scope just in terms of clarity and like,
Mhm.
okay, there's 20 abilities. Like, what are the three that the players keep coming back to, or not three, but however many,
Right.
that like are really used, and like what are the ones that kind of add like, well, I don't remember who this guy is, and like he, is just a water power or whatever. He's like Aquaman. So yeah, I mean, I agree that probably some editing down will need to come just for clarity, but like you clearly can make it. I mean,
Right.
wow, like this looks like a Sony game. Like I'm not gonna lie, this looks like a Sony indie game. Like
Definitely. Yeah. So I think like, yeah, I would say just sort of like, Will said, like, we'll probably just be echoing this a lot, but I would say, yeah, like, I think the colors are really vibrant. I think the animations are really clean. Like a lot of the stuff that would make this sort of like a visually interesting project, I think is there. Like you have a lot of that stuff there. Just sort of like, it sounds like, I think, in the comments reading, like, yeah, like you're working to be working on these things, which is great. So a lot of that stuff, I think we could go into all these like things like, oh, if you did this or did this, but these games aren't done. They're still work in progress. So I think it goes without saying that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So I'll just leave it at that and say kudos, great job, well done, and thank you for sharing Lion. It's looking awesome.
yeah, wow.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, and next up we got Ghost Mail.
Ghost Mail.